In this video, we will look at 6 different techniques that have helped my students get their dream score in the IELTS speaking test. So let's get started. Hi there, my name is Brick. I am a qualified English teacher from the UK with nearly 10 years of experience. And if you want to practice for the IELTS speaking exam, then you need to subscribe to this channel. Now, let's get started with the tips. So let's get started with the first technique, which is to focus on your experience. Now, it might be very tempting to make up stories, but it is a lot better to share your real life experiences. And some people, they might lie or make up details about their background to seem more interesting, which is fine, but this doesn't help your score. The speaking test is about how you talk and not about how interesting your stories are. And sometimes when we make things up, we might hesitate and make mistakes in our speaking, which can make us lose marks. So it's always best to just speak naturally and speak about your real experiences. Now, let's move on to tip number 2, which is do not worry about the examiner's opinion. Now, this is very easy to say, but I completely understand if you are worried. And that's because it's easy to worry about what the examiner thinks of you during the test, especially when they're sitting right opposite you. You might start overthinking their facial expressions or their body language, which can naturally just make you a bit nervous. But the examiner's job is not to judge your opinions or judge you personally. They only care about how well you speak English. Whether they agree with you or not, it does not matter. So if you are feeling nervous, here is what you should do instead. Focus on speaking clearly and answering the questions as best as you can. Ignore the examiner's reactions and only concentrate on using good vocabulary, using the correct grammar, and using clear pronunciation. Remember, your goal is to show your English skills, not to impress the examiner with your ideas. Okay, now the third tip is do not over-rehearse. Be conversational. So, trying to memorize the perfect answer for the IELTS speaking test is not a good idea. It can make you sound very unnatural. It's like you're reading from a script, and that's something that we want to avoid. Now, examiners are trained to notice memorized answers, and this can hurt your score. Now, when you use scripted responses, it doesn't show how well you can actually speak English. So here is what you should do instead. Focus on speaking naturally. Use the English words and phrases that you already know well. Also, when you answer questions, speak as if you are having a normal conversation with someone. Don't try to be perfect. Just be clear and natural. This will show the examiner your real ability to speak English. And also, when you speak naturally, it will help you calm your nerves, and that will help you focus more in your actual test. Now, the fourth tip is to use your anxiety to score better marks. So naturally, you might feel anxious on the day of your exam. And unlike the listening, reading and writing section of the IELTS exam, the speaking exam will be sat in front of the examiner, and it will just be you and the examiner. And this can make people feel very nervous and anxious. And when you feel this way, you might forget what to say. You might be focusing on the wrong thing, or you might even start to stutter. So what should we do? Well, according to the IELTS website, they recommend you to take advantage of being anxious, and we can do this by letting the examiner know. So here's an example of what that might look like. when the examiner asks you a question, instead of just staying silent or using filler words, just take a pause and consider using native phrases such as, "I'm sorry, my mind just went blank," or "I'm not really sure, but if I had to say," using simple and natural sentences like this can show the examiner your flexibility and your use of other language resources effectively. So again, do not worry about feeling anxious or nervous. It's completely normal. Everyone feels this way, and the examiner will already know that students feel like this on their test day. So don't worry. Don't stress yourself overthinking about it. Just use natural sentences like the ones we mentioned and continue as normal. Now, the fifth tip is do not over-agree with the examiner, especially if you have different opinions. Most students think that the way to score better is by always agreeing with everything the examiner says. However, this is just not true. Just because you have a different view from the examiner doesn't mean that you will lose marks. There are only 4 things that you will be marked on in the IELTS speaking exam, and these are how fluent and coherent you are when you speak, how effectively you can use a wide range of vocabulary, how accurate and flexible you are when you use grammatical structures, and how clearly and naturally you pronounce words. And the 6th tip is do not fake a native accent. Now, you want to speak in your natural accent. You do not get extra marks for trying to speak in a British accent or trying to speak in an American accent. Just speak in your own natural accent. Your natural accent is perfectly fine and it is perfectly normal. Speaking in any specific accent does not get you any higher marks. So, to make things simple, all you have to do to get a higher mark is focus on the areas that you'll actually be assessed on. Again, here is the image if you want to take a screenshot, and I will leave the link for this in the description below, along with other useful links. Now, if you benefited from this video, please show support by liking this video so YouTube can recommend this video to other people who want to learn English. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.